to do is to tell you a little bit about genetics and what we are doing at Hadassah. And then I will tell you about what we are doing here, which is not a research. It's a service that we try to provide our knowledge to the people here if they want to use it. And it's a volunteering work also. So what we have at Hadassah is a large number of children with undiagnosed disease. And when we first started looking at them, we realized that we will have to look at the DNA. So you know that 20 years ago, the Human Genome Project was completed, and all the sequence of the DNA was known. So these are letters that repeat themselves, 4 letters, and the sequence is important. And it took 13 years and $3 billion to learn the right sequence. At the end, President Clinton, he said, you know, now we know the language in which God created us. That was very good, of course. The trouble was that I'm afraid that most of my slides will be cut if you don't change the presentation. Anyway, what we know now is that when you look into the DNA, there are certain parts of it which are the genes. Okay? And the trouble is that for about 50% of them, we didn't know what they are doing. So it was kind of strange. On one side, we had children with undiagnosed disease. On the other side, we had genes that we didn't know what they're doing. So we were hoping that we will be able to connect the undiagnosed patient with the defects in this gene. And the defect is usually a single letter. You see, like in here, a single letter would change from C to G, from T to G, and that will be enough to cause a very serious disease. But remember, the DNA is 3 billion letters, so you need to read it very fast. And that was not possible until very recently. Now, why in Jerusalem we gain a lot of knowledge on finding the cause of disease? This is because I need to explain here that most diseases that affect children are recessive. That means that the parents, here is the father, here is the mother, they have 2 genes for everything. We have two copies for every gene. One we get from father, one we get from mother. So they have a defect in 1 copy, both of them, here in X, you see. Now, the child, sometimes when he gets the 2 defective copies, he will have a disease. That's how recessive diseases are transmitted. So the parents will be healthy because they have 1 good copy and 1 bad, but the child, he has 2 copies, he will be sick. How can it be that among 3 billion letters, 2 people will have exactly the same defect? For that, they have to be related. And I will explain why. Let's take this family. Do you see this grandfather, Abuelo? He has a defect here. He's healthy. He gives his defect to his 2 daughters, here, the violet, you see. His wife, she gives them a healthy copy. So they are healthy, the 2 daughters. They have 1 copy with problem, 1 copy okay. Now this one, she's having a girl. This one, unfortunately, she has a boy. So now they give the same defect to their children, but still the children are healthy. These children are primos, they're first cousins. And the children get married. They will have a child with 2 copies of the defect. He will be sick. Okay? That's clear? Yes. So that can happen if first cousins get married. But it can also happen if second cousins are getting married, or third cousins. And when you are talking of a Jewish community in the Golan, where people keep getting married inside the community, eventually this is the things that happen. And they don't know even that they are cousins, because they meet in synagogue or they meet in the pub. It looks okay. And only later, when the child is born with a disease, that's the time when they realize. So Israel is here, and this is the map of consanguinity, of marriage inside families. In Israel, about 50% of the couples are within the family in some of the communities, some of the Jewish and some of the Arab communities. So Israel has a lot of experience with recessive disease because of that. Now, a word about genes. So this is the DNA, and in the DNA, the genes, they have exons and they have introns. The exons are the important part. The exons are the part that will give the proteins. And we are looking only at the exons, okay? We are looking at 1% of all the DNA, but 85% of the disease are in this part, so it's a good deal. We don't read 3 billion, we only read 30 million letters. But it's enough to diagnose 85% of the disease. What do? We take the exons, the DNA, the pieces, we put it into this machine that it's a top of the technology, very advanced, was actually released into the market only this last summer. And after 27 hours, we get for each exon the sequence of the DNA. We then go to the so-called normal DNA, and we put the pieces and compare to the exons. This is one exon, another exon, and this is the individual DNA. So we read many times the patient DNA, and that's how we do. I will zoom in, and you will see. If this is the normal, and you can see the patient is below, again and again and again, so it should be GAGG, and almost always it will be GAGG. Here, there should be G, instead there is A. That does not mean that this is a disease. Each one of us has variants. Look around you, we are not identical. Why we are not identical? Because we have variants in our genome. And our job is to note which of the variant is disease-causing and which of the variant is just for the beauty, for the wisdom, for the height. So this is bioinformatics, and that's what we are doing day and night. We say that one good story worth more than many words. So this is the story of a girl that from North African Jewish community. Mother is Egyptian Jew and father is from Libya, Libyan Jew. And she is the third child in this family. And we saw her, I think, years ago. She was born in 2010. And at the age of 6 months, she had a paralysis. She couldn't move her arms and legs while she had high fever. And at that time, of course, the parents were very alarmed because they didn't understand what's wrong with her. After the fever went down, she gained again some of the strength, but was not exactly as before. So she remained weak. The same thing happened again when she was 1 year of age. This time, it was also in the neck. So when I saw her around the age of 2 years, she was a very weak baby, very smart, she could move fingers in one hand, and also she could keep the head straight, but not much more than this. And people thought that, and of course she was bright, very intelligent, people thought that she had some disease that the immune system is attacking her, because there were many signs to say that her immune system is too high. And so she was getting many medications, but she didn't get better. The mother took me one day in the corridor to the side, and she said, "You have to find a solution for my daughter, because I'm not going to lose her. I already lost one child with this disease." And she showed me a picture of her boy, his son, this her child number 2, and she said it was the same, and at the age of 4.5 years, it was also the respiratory muscles, and he died. And I cannot go through this once again. So we contacted all the genetic clinics in Israel, and we asked them if they know of North African Jewish family with similar stories. And within one day, we got 3 more families, each one of them having a child with the same symptoms. Fevers, and then the child becomes weak, paralyzed. After a while, he's getting better, but not to the same. So we choose to take this girl because the parents told us that they are first cousins. So I was sure that the 2 parents gave exactly the same defect because they're coming from the same abuelo. And we did analysis of all the exons, you know, that I told you just before. And we found a defect in a gene which you cannot see because it's cut here. We found a defect in a gene which is called CD59. At that time, I didn't know what this gene does. So I went in Hadassah, there is an expert for every gene almost. So I asked, what is this CD59? And I got an explanation. So apparently, when we are meeting a bacteria with capsule, with the envelope, our way to deal with it is to make a hole, a punch in the capsule. So water will come into the bacteria and the bacteria will explode. So our immune system is making such channels to attack the bacteria. This is a very good mechanism. But it has to stop. If the bacteria is gone, then the process of making this punching has to stop. For that to happen, CD59 is coming in, putting his hand inside and says no more. So CD59 is important to stop the immune system. And in these children, when they see a bacteria or they have high fever, they make this channel, but they cannot stop. They continue making it. And then what happened is that the channel is going to attack the myelin. Myelin is the insulation of the nerves, isolierband we call it. It's what wrapping the nerves, the peripheral nerves. And so these patients cannot move because all the myelin is getting holes in it. So what can we do? I mean, I understand now the mechanism, but the patient is still very weak. Luckily, for this disease, there is a medication that did not mean for this disease, was developed for something else. It's called eculizumab. It's called eculizumab. And this medication, it binds here and would not let the punch to be produced. Very expensive medication, 8,000 euro every month for a child. We went to the company, they gave us a charity donation, $2 million. They knew if it's successful, we should have this medication for life. And we started giving it to the patient. We had 5 patients in Israel with this disease. We started giving them, we didn't want to see them because we said, probably, we noticed that they do not show up in emergency room. no more fevers, maybe no more infections. We didn't know what's going on. So for 4 months we didn't see them. And then we said, let's see. We give them this medication every 3 weeks by injections. Let's see them. And what we did not expect is that the myelin, this insulation, will come back. We thought that it's lost. So here is the girl that once was paralyzed, only, you remember, with only the neck and the fingers, dancing on her 3rd birthday. She's not completely okay. She has here, you see, she has drop foot. So she still needs to wear this kind of a splint to hold the heels. But she's the queen of the kindergarten for 19 days. And then if she doesn't get the injection in every 3 weeks, she would become very weak. So it's not a cure, but it's a good medication. This is another girl, and this is the guy that was an expert on the problem. So this is a situation where not only we found the defect, but actually this helped us to repurpose a drug that was invented for something else to this disease. For 95% of genetic conditions, we don't have such a treatment. So this is still a lot of work to be done. Up to now, you remember I told you that when the human genome was found, for about 50% of the gene, nobody knew what they are doing. So now we at Hadassah found for 100 genes what they are doing. I think for a single center, this is the largest number in the world. And we've done so in a couple of years, very quickly. Simply by looking at our patients, finding what's wrong with them, and then understanding what the normal gene does. Okay, so now back to Mexico. In the last year and a half, we have seen a couple of children from the Syrian community, both in Panama and in Mexico, coming with early disease, very severe diseases. One disease is a disease of the brain, which gives a severe regression, developmental regression. And the other one is a disease of the muscles, which makes the children very, very weak. And there is a 3rd disease. So it took a while, and then we understood that we are actually seeing probably the tip of the iceberg, only the beginning of the problem. Because if 3 diseases are there, maybe there are 3 more there. Also, we noted that in each of the patients, the child got exactly the same mutation from both parents. Namely, that we are seeing here 4th-degree cousins, 5th-degree cousins start meeting, not knowing that they are related. This was very worrisome, and that was the time when we came here and we said, guys, it's good that you keep the children married inside the community, but wait a second before we see more and more sick children. And there was a decision here to start making compatibility tests for couples that want to have children before a sick child is being born. Because everybody can tell a family after a sick child is being born what to do. But can we prevent the birth of the affected child? So what do? If you find the 2 people, partners, husband and wife, carrying the same mutation, they can still have children, but they need testing. The testing can either be that you make a prenatal diagnosis by in vitro before you give back the baby, or you allow them to start and then you check at week 10 or 11 to see if the baby is okay. So for a young couple that both of them carry the same defect, 25% of their children will have 2 copies of the defect. 25% is a lot when a sick child is being born. a sick child can affect not only the parents, but the entire family. So we can do prenatal diagnosis, we can do in vitro. I was asked to answer several questions that came to us before this conference, and I want to relate to them now because I believe these are the questions that we're going to ask. So what is this compatibility testing? We take the DNA of the two partners, the husband and wife, or the would-be husband and wife. We read all the exons, exome analysis, and we check if the two of them have the same disease-causing variant. Now, each one of us has many disease-causing variants, but usually our disease-causing and our partner disease-causing are different, so no problem. But if it's the same, that's where the problem starts. So then you have to inform them. So this is compatibility testing. Now, what other information you can get from this analysis besides compatibility? So we tell people we do this test for compatibility. There is a list of 54 genes. We look at all the genes. There are 22,000. We look at all of them to look for compatibility. But there is a list of 54 genes that are cancer genes and heart disease genes. The American Society of Medical Genetics instruction is to look also at this. So we ask each couple, do you want to know about cancer and heart disease problems or not? And they tell us if they want or not. I can tell you that we have now done 37 couples for compatibility, and we have 3 people that I think we saved their life because we told them about cancer, about heart condition, things like that, that are now they will be under observation, and so they would not find themselves, wow, what am I going to do now? It's too late for me. No, they're at their 20s, and they know that we explain to them what they should do now in order to prevent the disease. So this is the other information that you get from this. We do not report, and we do not even look in genes where there is no action that can be done. If I tell a 25-year-old girl, look, I know that you have cancer in your family and you should know that you have the breast cancer gene, she can do something about it. But why should I tell about Alzheimer's gene? I don't know Alzheimer's gene, but even if I know, what can they do? So I don't look and I don't tell. So I'm very selective in our criteria of what we report. So then I was asked, what is the difference between a panel and exome? A panel is something like what Doria Sharim, the Ashkenazi program, is doing. So the best, panel is a list of variants that are causing disease in a community. I wish I could say now that I can give you a panel of disease-causing variants for the Syrian Jewish community. But I cannot, because we see so many disease-causing variants at the moment that we cannot tell, okay, check only these 10. The best panel of the Ashkenazi community is 120 variants. In exome, we check 32 million variants. So we just read everything. We do not decide beforehand, we will look here and not there. We just look at everything. And for the time being, I think this is the only strategy that is going to work for you, because we still cannot tell you, look only here, or look only there. We may miss something. We still don't know all the disease-causing variants in the Syrian Jewish community. Should we do the test if we already have children? Depends on what are your plans. If you intend to have more children, yes. Every child is a lottery. You throw the dice again. So if the two of you carry the same mutation, the same variant, 25% in every pregnancy. So it can be on the first pregnancy, it can be on pregnancy number 3. So I cannot tell you, yeah, you are safe because you have 2 healthy children. Should we do it if we don't plan to have more children? No, don't do it. What for? You are healthy people. You are not going to have more children. You are sure about it. Don't do it. There is no need for it. What if we are from different ethnic origin? So basically, if an Ashkenazi is marrying a Syrian, they probably do not share the same disease-causing variants. Trouble here, and I notice it today, is that some people are saying, I'm Syrian. Then I look at the family name, and one of the family names is Ashkenazi. I say, what's that? They say, no, actually I'm Ashkenazi with a little bit of Syrian. So, you know, I'm not sure that when you tell me I'm 100% Ashkenazi, she's 100% Syrian, it's correct. Maybe you are half Ashkenazi and half Syrian. If you have one abuela who's Syrian, it's enough to make you Syrian. So, only if you are sure that generations ago we are talking of 2 different ethnicities, then I am relaxed. Otherwise, if there is even one grandparent that came from the other community, I consider it far relatives. So then you will do. What are other communities do? So many communities do nothing. They just sit and watch sick babies being born and are very happy that it does not happen to them. And they are sure it's God's will. Then there is the Ashkenazis, and the Ashkenazis, thank God, they have many diseases, and they have panic, because we know now all their disease. We have examined 5,000 Ashkenazi. We know exactly what disease-causing genes they have, and they are checked for 120 variants. So when we are done with the Syrian Jews, you will have also your maybe 100 or 120 variants to check, and you can do a panel. Right now, we do not recommend it. We may miss something. Does exome analysis cover all diseases? No, it does not. It covers only the vast majority of diseases that are inside the exons. But there are diseases which are outside and you cannot catch them. 2 of them are very known, I think. One is Fragile X, when the X breaks easily, and then sons may be mentally retarded. This is not an ethnic disease. It occurs in all communities, and there is a special test for that. And another one is a muscle disease. So these 2 diseases should be tested separately. In Israel, it's mandatory to check for the 2 of them. Here we are trying to organize it as well. How is it done? So it is done by taking blood from each of the partners. How long does it take? It takes us 2 weeks to work. So if FedEx is very quick and useful and efficient, like 4 days, and then it's like our 2 weeks, so it's ready after 3 weeks. Still, we want to communicate the result in a very personal way, confidential way, because this is genetic information. So you need to sit in front of one of us and get your result. It is not something that we send by mail. I don't want anybody to open an envelope and drop and faint because some unexplained, unclear information. How do we receive the result? I explained. How much does it cost? I think at the moment it costs $830, and I understand that Jorge is going to negotiate with Hadassah for cheaper. Can I reopen my exome file? Yes. First of of all, we offer you to download it to your Google Drive. Have it in your computer. Enjoy. You cannot read it because it's not a Word. It takes special software, but you can keep it. We keep it on Hadassah server. Second, you can reopen it very easily. Just send us mail. Say, I read in the newspaper about a new cancer gene. I was wondering, maybe I have it. Please check it for me. I open the file, I look, and I tell you, it's no big deal. It's 2 minutes for me. One more important, we tell it to every young couple. You are going to have children, healthy, because we told you compatibility, okay. In 20 years, they want to get married. They don't need to do genetic testing, because your children got your DNA. So now, all we have to do is to take the files that are on our computers and match them, compatibility with the address, with the parents of the girl that your son wants to marry, and we shall tell you if compatibility is okay. So no need to bother your 5 children because they have your DNA. They don't have new DNA. It's the same DNA. So you do it now, and it's an investment for one generation to come. Thank you.